Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alien ship appeared. It was Tuesday, and Tuesday mornings were usually quiet at Earth Defense Command. The massive alien vessel dropped out of hyperspace right above Earth's moon, blocking out half the stars with its dark metal hull. The ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It stretched for miles in every direction, covered in strange symbols and weapon ports that glowed with purple energy. Most species in the galaxy would have started praying to their gods when they saw something like this. Jake just spit out his coffee and started laughing. "Lisa, you need to see this," he called to his second-in-command, Captain Lisa Park. She was at her desk reading reports about space traffic around Mars. "We've got visitors, and they really want to make an impression." Lisa looked at the main screen and raised an eyebrow. "Well, that's new. Are they compensating for something?" The alien ship began broadcasting on all frequencies. A deep, threatening voice filled the command center. The universal translator worked overtime to convert the alien words into English. "Primitive beings of the third planet, I am Admiral Crickstell of the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 43 worlds and 17 star systems. Your small world now belongs to us. You have 72 of your hours to surrender completely, or we will demonstrate why we are feared across the galaxy." Jake looked at Lisa. Lisa looked at Jake. Then they both started laughing again. "Did he just call us primitive?" Lisa asked, wiping tears from her eyes. "Has he seen our internet? We figured out how to be mean to each other across vast distances. Decades ago, Jake opened the communication channel. "Hello there, Admiral ... Sorry, what was your name again?" "Crickstell? That's a lovely name. Very intimidating. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of Earth Defense Command. Thanks for stopping by our little corner of space." There was silence from the alien ship. Jake could imagine the Admiral trying to figure out why the humans weren't screaming in terror. "Did you not understand our message, human?" The Admiral finally replied, "We are here to conquer your world. You should be afraid." "Oh, we understood perfectly," Jake said cheerfully. "It's just that, well, this is kind of funny. You came all this way to conquer one little planet? That must have taken a lot of fuel. Are you sure this is cost-effective?" Commander Rick Davis from Luna Base joined the conversation. His face appeared on the communication screen, and he was grinning. "Admiral, sir, with all due respect, you might want to check your intelligence reports. We've been trying to destroy our own planet for about 200 years now, and we're still here. We're surprisingly hard to get rid of." The Admiral's image appeared on their screens. He was a tall reptilian creature with scales that shifted from green to purple. His eyes were large and yellow, and his teeth were sharp enough to cut steel. Everything about him was designed to terrify other species. Jake nodded politely. "Nice to meet you face to face, Admiral. Those are some impressive teeth you've got there. Do you need dental insurance? Our planet has great health care. You mock us?" Admiral Crickstow's voice rose in anger. "We possess weapons that can crack planets in half. We have destroyed civilizations that lasted for millions of years." "That's terrible," Lisa said with genuine sympathy. "All those people just gone. That must weigh heavily on your conscience. Have you considered therapy? We have some excellent counselors here on Earth." The Admiral paused. This was not going according to plan. In his 500 years of conquest, no species had ever offered him mental health services. Rick pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's nuclear testing history. "Admiral, if you want to see some real planet-cracking action, check this out. This is what we did to our own world just for practice. We call it Tuesday morning weapons testing in some parts of our planet." The footage showed mushroom clouds, massive explosions, and craters the size of cities. The Admiral watched in growing confusion as the humans casually displayed their capacity for self-destruction. And the best part, Jake added, is that we did all this to ourselves while fighting each other over things like oil, religion, and who makes the best pizza. We're still arguing about the pizza thing, actually. Lieutenant Ben Carter from the Mars colony chimed in over the radio. Admiral, you should know that humans have this weird habit of getting stronger when someone threatens us. We're like those little creatures that puff up when they're scared, except we puff up with nuclear weapons and bad attitudes. The Admiral tried a different approach. Your weapons are primitive compared to ours. Observe. His ship fired a demonstration shot at a nearby asteroid. The purple beam completely vaporized the space rock, turning it into cosmic dust in seconds. The humans on the communication channel clapped politely. Very nice, Jake said. Good special effects. Though I have to ask, is that really the most efficient way to handle space debris? We usually just push asteroids out of the way. Less energy consumption. Better for the environment. Dr. Kevin Wright, Earth's chief xenoanthropologist, joined the conversation from his office in Geneva. Admiral, I hope you don't mind me asking, but have you considered the environmental impact of your conquest methods? Vaporizing asteroids releases a lot of particulate matter into space. It's not very eco-friendly. We do not concern ourselves with environmental issues, the Admiral replied stiffly. Oh, Dr. Wright said sadly. That explains a lot about your species' development. Environmental responsibility is usually a sign of advanced civilization. Are you sure you're ready for interstellar conquest? It seems like you might want to work on the basics first. By now, news of the alien encounter was spreading across Earth's social media networks. Within minutes, memes featuring Admiral Crickstall began appearing. Someone had already created a dating profile for him with the tagline, Conquers Hearts and Solar Systems. The Admiral watched in horror as his image was shared millions of times across human networks, usually with captions like, when you try to be scary but end up being adorable, and me trying to intimidate my cat. What is the meaning of this mockery? He demanded. Oh, that's just humans being humans, Lisa explained. We tend to make jokes when we're nervous, or happy, or sad. Or really, any time there's something happening. It's nothing personal. Jake leaned back in his chair. Admiral, can I be honest with you? This whole conquest thing seems like a lot of work. Have you considered just asking nicely if you want something? We're usually pretty reasonable people. Most of the time. The alien fleet hung in space. Weapons. Powered but unused, while their admiral tried to understand why his standard intimidation tactics were being met with offers of coffee and relationship advice. The morning after Admiral Crickstall's invasion announcement, Earth's governments did something that confused the Zephyrian Empire completely. Instead of declaring war or surrendering, they filed paperwork. Attorney General Patricia Cole sat in her office in Washington, surrounded by law books and legal documents. She had spent the night reading through galactic commerce laws and found something interesting. The Zephyrian Empire had never filed the proper invasion permits. This is sloppy work, Patricia told her assistant, lawyer Mark Wilson. They want to take over our planet, but they didn't even check if they're legally allowed to do it. It's like trying to buy a house without checking if it's for sale. Patricia sent an official complaint to the Galactic Commerce Commission. The complaint was 47 pages long and included charges of unlawful business practices, failure to provide proper documentation, and violation of interstellar environmental protection laws. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was getting famous. News stations around the world wanted to interview the man who had laughed at alien invaders. He appeared on the morning coffee show with host Sandra Bell. So, Captain Morrison, Sandra asked with a smile, are you worried about these aliens? Destroying our planet? Jake shrugged. Not really. My teenage daughter Emma is scarier when she wants to borrow my car. At least the aliens said please, in their own threatening way. The audience laughed. Sandra leaned forward. But they have planet-destroying weapons. So do we, Jake replied. We just usually point them at ourselves. These aliens might actually be safer than us. They only threaten other planets. We threaten our own planet every Tuesday. While Jake was on television, Dr. Kevin Wright was in his laboratory at the university. He had been studying the alien transmission data all night. As Earth's leading expert on alien cultures, he was fascinated by what he had learned about the Zephyrian Empire. Kevin published his research paper that afternoon. The title was Primitive Conquest Methods: Why the Zephyrian Empire Needs to Update Their Approach. The paper was 20 pages of detailed analysis about how outdated the empire's invasion tactics were. The Zephyrian Empire appears to be stuck in what we might call the ancient conquest mindset, Kevin wrote. Their methods are similar to human empires from thousands of years ago. They rely on fear and threats, which worked when species were isolated. But in a connected galaxy, these tactics look primitive and embarrassing. The paper went viral on Earth's academic networks. Universities around the world began teaching courses about it. Professor Janet Adams at Harvard used it as an example of how not to conduct interstellar diplomacy. Back in space, Admiral Krickstahl was receiving reports from his intelligence officers. The reports made no sense to him. Admiral, his chief intelligence officer, reported the humans are not responding as expected. They have not mobilized their military. Instead, they are treating our invasion as a tourist attraction. This was true. Space tourism companies on Earth had quickly organized trips to see the alien fleet. Danny Foster, a tour guide from California, was making good money taking people up in shuttles to look at the Zephyrian ships. And over here, Danny would tell his tourists, we have the main alien battleship. Notice the purple lights and the big scary weapons. The aliens are really trying their best to look intimidating. It's kind of sweet, really. The tourists would take pictures and ask questions like, why do they need such a big ship? And don't they know about fuel efficiency? Danny had studied the alien ships and found them interesting from an engineering perspective. The design is very traditional, he would explain. Lots of sharp edges and dark colors. Very focused on looking scary rather than being practical. It's like they read a book called How to Build Intimidating Spaceships and followed every suggestion. The Zephyrian Empire was monitoring these tours. Admiral Krickstahl watched recordings of humans pointing at his fleet and making casual comments about their outdated design philosophy and poor understanding of psychological warfare. Dr. Amanda Green, a psychologist from New York, had been invited to comment on the situation for the news. She appeared on several programs to discuss the aliens' behavior. What we're seeing here, Dr. Green explained, is a classic case of arrested development on a species level. The Zephyrian Empire is still using intimidation tactics that probably worked when they first developed space travel, but they haven't grown beyond that stage. She paused to look at her notes. It's like watching a grown person try to get their way by throwing a tantrum. It might have worked when they were a child, but now it just looks sad. The news anchor, Bob Martinez, asked, "So you don't think we should be afraid?" "Oh, we should be careful," Dr. Green said. "But afraid? No. Fear would actually encourage this behavior. What we're doing instead is much more effective. We're treating them like adults who should know better. That's far more devastating to their self-image." Captain Lisa Park had been busy organizing Earth's official response. She worked with diplomats from every major nation to create a unified message for the Zephyrian Empire. The message was polite but firm. It thanked the Empire for their interest in Earth, but explained that the planet was not available for conquest at this time. It suggested that if the Empire was interested in trade or cultural exchange, they should contact Earth's Department of Interstellar Relations. The message also included a helpful brochure about Earth's tourist attractions, a list of recommended hotels near major spaceports, and a suggestion that the Admiral might enjoy visiting Earth's museums to learn about successful empire-building techniques from human history. We found that the Roman and British empires had much more efficient methods, the message noted. We'd be happy to arrange educational tours if you're interested in improving your conquest strategies. The most embarrassing part for the Admiral came when Earth's children began paying attention to the situation. A class of 8-year-olds from a school in Ohio sent the alien fleet a drawing. It showed the Earth and the alien ships, with a big rainbow connecting them and the words, "Can we be friends instead?" The drawing was shared millions of times on social media. Someone turned it into a poster with the caption, "Even our children are better at diplomacy than galactic empires." Admiral Krickstall stared at the drawing on his command screen. In 500 years of conquest, no one had ever offered to be his friend. He was not sure how to respond to this development. His officers looked at him expectantly, waiting for orders. The Admiral realized that for the first time in his career, he had no idea what to do next. Admiral Krickstall had never been so frustrated in his 500 years of life. The humans were not responding to his threats the way other species did. Every conquered world had either fought back or surrendered immediately. Earth was doing neither. He decided to try face-to-face negotiations. Perhaps if the humans could see him in person, they would understand how serious he was. The meeting was arranged at the United Nations building in New York. Admiral Krickstall arrived in his full battle armor, his scales gleaming purple and green. In the sunlight, his guards carried weapons that could vaporize entire buildings. He expected the humans to tremble when they saw him. Instead, diplomat Helen Rogers greeted him at the entrance with a warm smile and a cup of coffee. "Admiral Krickstall, welcome to Earth," Helen said cheerfully. "I hope your trip wasn't too difficult. Space travel can be so tiring. Would you like some coffee? We also have tea if you prefer." The Admiral stared at the small human woman offering him a hot beverage. His guards looked confused. No one had ever offered them refreshments before a surrender negotiation. "I do not require your primitive drinks," the Admiral said stiffly. "Oh, that's fine," Helen replied. "But I brought some cookies too, just in case. They're chocolate chip, my grandmother's recipe." The Admiral followed Helen into the conference room, where several humans were waiting. They all looked relaxed and friendly. Some were even smiling. The Admiral had never seen conquered species smile before. Dr. Andrew Kim, a military historian from Seoul, stood up when the Admiral entered. "Admiral, it's an honor to meet you. I've been reading about your conquest history. Very impressive record. 43 worlds in 500 years. Though I have to ask, don't you think that's a bit slow?" The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed. "Slow? Well, yes," Dr. Kim said politely. "Human empires conquered much larger areas in much shorter time periods. The Mongol Empire covered most of Asia in just a few decades. The British Empire controlled a quarter of the world's land at its peak, and they did it all without faster-than-light travel." The Admiral sat down heavily in his chair. "Your species conquered yourselves?" "Oh, yes, many times," Dr. Kim said with enthusiasm. "We're very good at it. Romans, Greeks, Egyptians, Chinese dynasties, European colonialism, American expansion. We've been practicing empire building for thousands of years." Business consultant Mary Johnson opened her laptop and pulled up a presentation. "Admiral, I've been analyzing your empire's expansion model, and I have to say, there are some serious efficiency issues." She clicked to her first slide. Your current approach requires massive military resources for each conquest. The maintenance costs alone must be enormous. Have you considered the return on investment for each world you conquer? The Admiral looked at the charts and graphs on Mary's screen. No one had ever asked him about return on investment before. Furthermore, Mary continued, your empire seems to lack long-term strategic planning. You conquer worlds, but what's your exit strategy? How do you maintain control? What's your plan for integrating conquered populations into productive roles? The Admiral realized he had never thought about any of these questions. The Empire had always just conquered and moved on. Tom Bradley, a negotiator from the State Department, leaned forward. Admiral, may I ask about your species' lifespan? Our intelligence suggests Zephyrians live for about 700 years. This is correct, the Admiral replied, wondering where this was going. That's fascinating, Tom said. Humans typically live for about 80 years. So in the time it takes one of your people to reach maturity, humans have gone through multiple generations. We've had entire civilizations rise and fall in the time it takes your species to finish childhood. The Admiral began to understand what Tom was suggesting. Humans experience change and development much faster than Zephyrians. In fact, Tom added, humans have gone from horse-drawn carriages to space travel in just over a century. What technological advances has your empire made in the last century? The Admiral thought about this. The Empire had been using the same technology and the same conquest methods for hundreds of years. They saw no reason to change what worked. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a xenobiologist, spoke up. Admiral, this might explain why your conquest methods seem outdated to us. Your species experiences time differently than we do. What seems like recent innovation to you might be ancient history to us. The meeting was interrupted when elementary school teacher Nancy Green arrived with her class of 6-year-olds. It was supposed to be a field trip to the United Nations, but the children were excited to meet a real alien. Are you the spaceman? Asked little Lucy Thompson, looking up at the towering Admiral. I am Admiral Crickstall of the Zephyrian Empire, he replied formally. Why do you want to take over our planet? Asked Bobby Chon, a boy with missing front teeth. The Admiral paused. He had never been asked this question by a child before. Because that is what empires do. We conquer worlds. But why? Asked Susan Davis. Don't you have your own planet? Yes, but double-quote the Admiral began. Then why do you need ours too? Asked little Mike Roberts. Are you not happy with your planet? The children gathered around the Admiral, asking innocent questions that cut to the heart of his empire's motivations. Why did they need to conquer anyone? What made them think they had the right to take other people's homes? Had they tried just asking nicely? Children, Nancy said gently, the Admiral is a very important person who has traveled a long way to visit us. He doesn't look very happy, observed Emma Foster. Maybe he needs a hug. The Admiral looked down at the small human child, offering him comfort. In 500 years of conquest, no one had ever suggested he might need a hug. Helen. Rogers watched the Admiral's face change as he interacted with the children. She had seen this before in her diplomatic career. Sometimes the most powerful people were the most confused about what they actually wanted. Admiral, Helen said quietly, when was the last time someone asked you how you were feeling? The Admiral looked at her in surprise. I do not understand the question. When was the last time someone cared about your well-being rather than just following your orders? The Admiral thought about this. He could not remember a single instance of someone asking about his personal happiness or health, except for medical examinations to ensure he could continue conquering. The children had moved on to showing the Admiral their drawings of spaceships and aliens. They were much more colorful and friendly-looking than the actual Zephyrian vessels. We drew pictures of what we think space friends should look like, little Lucy explained. They have rainbow ships and bring presents instead of scary weapons. Lee. Admiral looked at the drawings, then at his reflection in the conference room window. His dark armor and threatening appearance suddenly seemed less impressive than frightening. For the first time in his long life, Admiral Kriksdal began to wonder if there might be a better way to explore the galaxy than through conquest. News of Earth's strange response to the Zephyrian Empire spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Other alien species had been watching the situation with great interest. Most of them had their own difficult history with the Empire. The Altarian Republic was the first to contact Earth. Ambassador Chris Lee received their message at the United Nations building while Admiral Kriksdal was still trying to understand why human children wanted to give him hugs. "Greetings, people of Earth," the Altarian message said. "We have observed your interactions with the Zephyrian Empire. We are impressed by your methods. The Empire conquered our homeworld 300 years ago. We have been fighting them ever since, but we never thought of offering them therapy." Chris Lee smiled as he read the message. He had been Earth's ambassador to difficult situations for 20 years, but this was the first time aliens were asking for advice about dealing with other aliens. The Altarians were not the only ones paying attention. The Corvan Federation sent their own diplomatic message, followed by the Stellar Alliance and the Independent Worlds Coalition. All of them had been threatened or conquered by the Zephyrian Empire. At some point, Chris decided to address the entire Galactic Council. Earth had only recently been invited to join the Council, and this would be their first major speech. He prepared his presentation carefully, knowing that the whole galaxy was watching. The Galactic Council met in a massive space, stationed near the center of the galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to hear what the humans had to say about the Zephyrian situation. Chris stood at the speaker's podium, looking out at an audience of creatures he had only seen in science fiction movies a few months ago. There were floating jellyfish-like beings, crystalline entities that communicated through light patterns, and mechanical species that looked like walking computers. "Honored representatives," Chris began, "Earth appreciates the opportunity to address the Council about our recent encounter with the Zephyrian Empire." He clicked to his first presentation slide, which showed a picture of Admiral Kriksdal looking confused while surrounded by human children. "We have discovered that the Empire's conquest methods are based on fear and intimidation. However, these tactics only work when the target species responds with fear. When we responded with concern for their well-being instead, their entire strategy fell apart." The council chamber was silent. Many of the representatives had never considered that conquest could be defeated with kindness. "The Empire appears to be suffering from what human psychologists call arrested development," Chris continued. "They have been using the same methods for hundreds of years because they worked once, but they never learned to grow beyond those methods." A representative from the Corvan Federation raised one of his four arms. "Ambassador Lee, are you suggesting that the Zephyrian Empire is not actually dangerous?" "Oh, they're still dangerous," Chris replied. "They have powerful weapons and a large fleet, but their danger comes from their inability to change, not from their strength. They're like a very large child having a tantrum." Chris clicked to his next slide, which showed Earth's proposal for dealing with the Empire. "Earth would like to offer our services as mediators in conflicts involving the Zephyrian Empire. We believe that with proper guidance, they can learn more constructive ways to interact with other species." The chamber erupted in what could only be described as alien laughter. Different species made different sounds. Some chirped, others hummed, and a few flashed lights in patterns that seemed amused. The representative from the Stellar Alliance spoke up. "Ambassador, you are offering to rehabilitate the most feared empire in the galaxy?" "Why not?" Chris asked. "Humans have a Lot of experience with rehabilitation. We've been reforming our own aggressive tendencies for centuries. We used to solve everything with wars, but now we mostly solve things with strongly worded letters and economic sanctions. Back on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was dealing with a new problem. His successful handling of the Zephyrian situation had made him famous throughout the galaxy. Alien species were sending him requests for help with their own diplomatic problems. "Lisa," he said to Captain Lisa Park, "I've got 17 different alien species asking me to mediate their territorial disputes." "When did I become a galactic therapist?" Lisa laughed. "When you decided to treat armed invaders like confused teenagers." "Face it, Jake, you're good at this." The requests kept coming. The Andromedans wanted help negotiating trade agreements. The Centauri Collective needed assistance with a border dispute. The crystal beings of Rigel were asking for advice about communication problems with their silicon-based neighbors. Dr. Kevin Wright was having the time of his life. As Earth's xenanthropologist, he was suddenly the most popular scientist in the galaxy. Universities on dozens of worlds were inviting him to lecture about human diplomatic methods. The key to understanding the Zephyrian Empire, he explained in a lecture at the University of Alpha Centauri, is recognizing that they never learned to process rejection. Every time a species surrendered to them, it reinforced their belief that intimidation works. But humans didn't surrender, and we didn't fight back either. We just treated them like they were being unreasonable. The lecture hall was packed with alien students taking notes. Kevin had never imagined that human psychology would become a required course at alien universities. Meanwhile, Admiral Krickstall was having the worst week of his life. His own officers were starting to question his leadership. The Empire's high command was demanding to know why he had not conquered Earth yet. But the worst part was the messages his fleet was receiving from other species. They were not messages of fear or desperate pleas for help. They were messages of sympathy. "Dear Admiral Krickstall," read one message from the Vegan Trade Union. "We saw the news about your situation with Earth. We wanted you to know that we understand how difficult it must be to have your traditional methods challenged. If you need someone to talk to, our counselors are available for video calls." Another message came from the Betelgeuse Mining Corporation. "Admiral, we've been where you are. We used to solve all our problems with hostile takeovers too. But we learned that cooperative business partnerships are much more profitable. We'd be happy to share our experience with you." The most embarrassing message came from the Zeta Reticuli peace movement. "Admiral Krickstall, we are organizing a support group for former aggressors who want to learn better conflict resolution skills. You would be very welcome to join us. Meetings are every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Galactic Standard Time." Admiral Krickstall stared at his communication screen in disbelief. The galaxy's most feared empire was being offered group therapy by a peace movement. His second-in-command, Commander Vexstar, brought him the daily intelligence reports. "Admiral, there is more disturbing news. Our spies report that several conquered worlds are beginning to question why they surrendered to us in the first place." This was true. The Rigelian colonies had sent the Empire a formal letter requesting a review of their surrender terms. The Procyon system had filed a complaint with the Galactic Commerce Commission about unfair conquest practices. The Deneb Federation was demanding compensation for 300 years of occupation. "They are all using the same arguments the humans used," Commander Vexstar continued. "They say our conquest methods are outdated and that we should consider more modern approaches to interstellar relations." Admiral Krickstall realized that Earth had done something no military force had ever accomplished. They had not just defeated the Zephyrian Empire. They had made the Empire look so foolish that other species were no longer afraid of them. The humans had destroyed the Empire's reputation simply by refusing to be impressed by it. For the first time in 500 years, Admiral Krickstall wondered if it might be time to consider a career change. The final blow to the Zephyrian Empire's reputation came from an unexpected source. Dr. Claire Adams, a sociology professor from Boston University, had been studying the Empire's behavior patterns for 2 weeks. Her research paper was about to make galactic history. Dr. Adams published her study on a Thursday morning. The title was The Zephyrian Empire, a case study in collective arrested development and the psychology of conquest addiction. The paper was 50 pages of detailed analysis about why the Empire behaved the way it did. The Zephyrian Empire displays classic symptoms of a species stuck in adolescent development, Dr. Adams wrote. Their need to conquer other worlds stems from deep insecurity about their own worth. Like teenagers who act tough to hide their fears, the Empire uses aggression to mask their emotional immaturity. The paper included charts comparing Zephyrian behavior to human teenagers. The similarities were embarrassing. Both groups used intimidation when they felt uncertain. Both demanded respect without earning it, and both threw tantrums when things did not go their way. Within hours, the paper was being shared across the galaxy. Alien universities began using it as required reading in psychology courses. The study became so popular that it was translated into over 300 alien languages. The worst part for Admiral Krickstall was the paper's conclusion. Dr. Adams recommended that the Empire receive intensive group therapy to address their underlying emotional issues, and parenting classes to learn how to interact with other species in healthy ways. The paper suggested that the Empire's conquest behavior was actually a cry for help. Like many bullies, Dr. Adams wrote, the Zephyrians are probably just looking for friendship and acceptance. Their aggressive behavior is their misguided way of trying to connect with others. Admiral Krickstall read the paper 3 times, each reading making him feel worse. The humans had not just defeated his empire. They had diagnosed it, but the real humiliation was still coming. Captain Jake Morrison was in his office when he received a priority communication from the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral Krickstall appeared on his screen, looking tired and defeated. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said formally, the Zephyrian Empire challenges you to single combat. If you defeat our champion, we will withdraw from your solar system. If our champion wins, Earth must surrender. Jake leaned back in his chair and smiled. That's very traditional of you, Admiral. I accept your challenge on behalf of Earth. The Admiral looked relieved. Finally, the humans were following proper conquest protocol. However, Jake continued, I'll need to choose Earth's champion. Give me a moment. Jake picked up his phone and called his sister in California. Hey, Carol, is Billy available? I need him to fight some aliens. Billy Cooper was Jake's 12-year-old nephew. He was a small kid with messy brown hair and a love for video games. He had just finished beating the latest impossible space combat simulation that had stumped adult gamers around the world. Billy, Jake said when the boy came to the phone, how would you like to represent Earth in single combat against a galactic empire? Is this like the video game where you fight the space lizards? Billy asked. Pretty much exactly like that. Jake replied. Billy arrived at the space station where the combat was to take place. He brought his gaming headset, a bag of snacks, and his lucky controller. The Zephyrian champion was a massive warrior named General Thokron, who stood 8 feet tall and had scales like armor plating. General Thokron looked down at the small human child who was supposed to be his opponent. This is your champion? A human youngling? Yep, Jake said cheerfully. Billy here just beat the Infinity War simulation on the highest difficulty setting. He's looking for a new challenge. The combat was set to take place in virtual reality, using the most advanced simulation technology in the galaxy. Both fighters would control virtual spaceships in a complex battle scenario. The first to achieve total victory would win, General Thokron had been the Empire's champion for 200 years. He had never lost a virtual combat simulation. He was confident this would be an easy victory. Billy put on his headset and cracked his knuckles. "This is going to be fun," he said. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. Billy's fighting style confused the general completely. The boy did not follow any known combat patterns. He used strategies that seemed impossible, made moves that should not have worked, and somehow turned every one of the general's advantages against him. "How are you doing this?" General Thokron demanded as his virtual fleet was systematically destroyed. "You're fighting like my dad plays video games," Billy replied, without looking away from his screen. "All serious and by the rules. You need to think outside the box, mister." Billy's final move was spectacular. He used the general's own weapons against him by tricking the AI into targeting the wrong ships. General Thokren watched in horror as his entire virtual fleet destroyed itself. "Victory to Earth," the simulation announced. Admiral Krixtol stared at the results in disbelief. His empire's greatest warrior had been defeated by a human child who was not even trying hard. "Good game," Billy said, taking off his headset. "You're pretty good for a beginner. You should practice more." The final humiliation came when Earth sent the Zephyrian Empire a care package. It contained cookies baked by Billy's grandmother, a self-help book called Moving Beyond Conquest, a guide to healthy interstellar relationships, and a handwritten note from the children of Earth Elementary School. "Dear space friends," the note read, "we hope you feel better soon. Being hangry all the time must be very tiring. We made you some drawings to cheer you up. Maybe next time you visit, we can play games instead of fighting." Admiral Krixtol read the note while his fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system. The Empire issued an official statement saying that Earth was beneath their notice and unworthy of conquest. But everyone in the galaxy knew the truth. The Zephyrian Empire had been defeated by kindness, embarrassed by children, and psychoanalyzed by academics. They had been offered therapy, friendship, and cookies. Their fearsome reputation was replaced by memes and support group invitations. As the alien fleet departed, Earth's social media exploded with celebration. The hashtag #MomFendedByHumans became the most popular phrase in galactic history. The Empire became known throughout the galaxy as those guys who got adopted by humans against their will. 6 months later, Admiral Krixtol quietly enrolled in the anger management courses that Dr. Adams had recommended. He also started attending the Galactic Support Group for Former Conquerors, where he met other species who were learning to interact with their neighbors in healthier ways. Earth established the Galactic Mediation Service, helping other species resolve conflicts through what they called advanced emotional intelligence. Captain Jake Morrison became the galaxy's first director of interstellar conflict resolution, a job that mostly involved treating aggressive aliens like confused teenagers. Until they calmed down. The Zephyrian Empire still existed, but they had become the galaxy's most polite former conquerors. They spent their time writing apology letters to species they had conquered and attending workshops on healthy communication in interstellar relations. Billy Cooper became famous throughout the galaxy as the human child who defeated an empire. With superior gaming skills, he used his fame to start a charity teaching alien children how to play video games, because, as he said, everyone deserves to have fun, even space lizards. And Admiral Krixtol, for the first time in his 500 years of life, discovered that being someone's friend was much more satisfying than being their conqueror. The galaxy was a much more peaceful place, once everyone the human secret. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to refuse to fight and offer cookies instead.